Hello, lovelies. Today I want to talk about 4 ways that you can reduce your risk of getting cancer, reduce your risk of getting any of our lifestyle diseases. Now, I have been thinking about this because it's coming up next year, 10 years since I had my breast cancer diagnosis. And I just wanted to put it really in a really simple way for people to be able to look at their diet and lifestyle and look at the 4 ways that we can be as healthy as possible. So the 4 things are what we put in our mouth, our body weight, our movement, and alcohol. So I'm going to start with alcohol, especially since it's, coming up to Christmas. So alcohol was a big part of my life. And so I really, I don't say what I'm about to say lightly. There are no redeeming features of alcohol from a health perspective. I don't even think there are from a social perspective, unless it's drunk in moderation. But anyway, as soon as we drink alcohol, our liver stops taking on board estrogen and breaking it down. So once we drink alcohol, our estrogen levels begin to rise. And if there is any unprocessed estrogen in the liver, it dumps it into the bloodstream and says, I'll deal with you later. And it's this half-processed estrogen that is linked to our female cancers. So it is really worthwhile thinking about, how much alcohol you consume. Now, the third one is movement. So we all know that we need to exercise. But there's a few reasons why we need to exercise and to build muscle. Yes, we need to do the cardio, the movement, the walking, the swimming, the riding our bikes. But it's also really important to be building muscle. They are now saying that muscle is the currency of health. And what does this mean? It means that we need to be focused on building our muscle, doing that weight-bearing exercise that is going to build our muscle. Now, you don't have to go to the gym and become, Ms. Universe, but just, finding, I have a link, you can find it. I follow this lady who just does 20 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day in your home, just with some handheld weights. That is going to build your muscle, because muscle is actually burning calories. So it is not just sitting around doing nothing, it is burning calories all the time. And that is going to help with your insulin resistance, which is, one of the precursors of diabetes. And it's just going to help you on every single level. Because excess weight, on the other hand, is not sitting around doing nothing either. It is actually releasing estrogen, and it is releasing inflammatory cytokines. So the more weight that you are carrying, the more estrogen you're going to be producing and the more inflamed you're going to be. So you can see that, achieving a healthy body weight is just essential when it comes to optimizing your health, balancing your hormones, and just making sure that we're reducing our risk of all of our lifestyle diseases. So, number one, the most important thing is what we're putting on the end of our fork. Now, this is highly controversial, but I'm only going to address one thing, and that is the amount of plants you are eating. We know that it is plants that are the key to our health. You only have to look at something like the Blue Zone study, where they looked at the happiest, healthiest, longest living people on the planet, and they're 95% plant-based. What is it about plants? Well, it's only plants that contain fiber. Now, back in the day, when I was back at uni doing my degree 30 years ago, we just thought that fiber was good for keeping you full and keeping you regular. And yes, you need to be regular. If you're not having an easy daily bowel movement, then you definitely need to be talking to me. But fiber is so much more than that. We now know that fiber is what feeds our good gut bacteria. And This is responsible for over 70% of your immunity. It's helping to make a lot of your vitamins. It's making these amazing things called short-chain fatty acids, which are responsible for your mood, your metabolism. There's just like, it just goes on and on. So where do we find the plants? Plants are not just vegetables. Vegetables are key, but it's all vegetables, all fruit, all of your legumes. So they're your beans and your lentils, your chickpeas, your red kidney beans, your black beans, and all your different types of lentils. And it's your whole grains. So it's brown rice, it's quinoa, it's rolled oats, it's, barley and all those types of whole grains. And there is some fibre in your healthy whole fats like nuts and seeds, whole olives and avocados. But they are mainly fat. So all of those plants are going to help you optimize your health. And we want to be eating them as much as possible. So how do we do that? I get my clients to start with just adding lentils to spaghetti bolognese, adding chickpeas to curries and casseroles, and having oats for breakfast, and just really looking at how you can be eating more vegetables. In fact, I created a series that you can find on my YouTube channel where I looked at 10 vegetables and gave you 4 recipes for each, just to give you some ideas on how to eat more vegetables and more plants in general. But let's get back to the fibre and why we need to focus on whole food, plant-based products, because there's a big difference between an orange and a glass of orange juice. The orange has all of the fibre intact. So that is going to slow down the release of, fructose and glucose into your bloodstream, which is going to impact your health. It's also really easy to overeat foods that have been processed. You think of a glass of orange juice, that's got about the juice of about 6 oranges in it. Now, you're not really going to sit down and eat 6 whole oranges. So it's really easy to overconsume processed foods, which means you're going to consume more calories, and therefore it's going to be more difficult to manage your weight. Now, I don't count calories, but I know where they're coming from. And this is a part of why it's important to understand the difference between whole foods and processed foods. Let's take olive oil, for example. There's a big difference between a whole olive and olive oil. So just 1 tablespoon of olive oil contains about 20 to 40 olives, depending on the size of the olives. Now, no one is going to sit down and eat that much olive oil, eat that many olives, I should say. But think how easy it is to drizzle olive oil on salads, in cooking, and all that sort of thing. And it is so easy to overconsume. It's the same with when we process things like grains and we turn them into flour. So that is why we wanted to be eating whole foods, not just because they contain the fibre, but from a weight management perspective, it's much easier to overeat when you're eating those processed foods. So hence why eating whole food, plant-based is key. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is when we're talking about plants is to understand that vegetables are key for so many more reasons than just the fibre. So I kind of like to think about vegetables and breaking them up into 3 groups. So you've got your leafy greens, you've got your cruciferous vegetables, and they're like your broccoli, your cauliflower, your cabbage, your Brussels sprouts, and they are just like super cancer-kicking, amazing vegetables that we need to be eating, some every day. And then we've got your carby vegetables. So that's your carrots, peas and corn and sweet potatoes. And, they're the ones that we can gravitate towards, and they're healthy, but we want to be making sure we're having the range. And then mushrooms fit into a category on their own. They are amazing. And, even just the little old button mushroom has been connected with reducing your risk of breast cancer. So those mushrooms into you. Now, the reason why I talk about the 3 different types of vegetables is because the leafy greens are key to our health as we get older. So in our epithelial cells that line our arteries is something called nitric oxide. And as we age, it's almost like our stores of nitric oxide start to be depleted. Now, nitric oxide is what keeps our arteries smooth and supple and moving so that, we reduce our risk of cardiovascular disease. And it's the leafy greens that contain nitric oxide, which can help keep our arteries nice and smooth. So smooth like Teflon and supple and not hardened, which is going to increase our risk of cardiovascular disease. So it's really important on a daily basis to try and be eating leafy greens, eating some of those cruciferous vegetables and some of the carby vegetables and mushrooms. So just to recap, the 4 ways that we can reduce our risk of all of the lifestyle diseases, including most of the cancers, is by eating more plants, is by achieving a healthy body weight, moving, building up that muscle, and reducing or eliminating alcohol. I hope that helps just to sort of paint a big, broad picture of, how we can optimize our health moving forward. And if you'd like any help on how to start doing any of those things, especially eating more plants, then I invite you to contact me and you can jump on a complimentary call and we can work out a personalized plan for you because you know me, I don't do cookie cutter diets. We need to start where you're at right now and just make tiny, little steps in the direction that is going to help you achieve your goals. Have a great day.